Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I've been asked to make once again another video. So, this one's going to be a little bit less, it shouldn't be nearly as long. So, there's been a lot of people are saying they don't know where to start gearing or how to start once you hit max level. So, we'll start with some resources on how to gear, what gear you should wear, um, how to figure out what's best for your class, and maybe just some other things that maybe you should just know. So let's start with you just hit 80, and you're like, hey, look, I want to gear up X class. Let's say you're Ninja, and I want to play Ninja and Raid. First and foremost, if your first class is a melee DPS, you're asking for a World of Hurt. But the first thing you're going to want to do, easiest way to get to minimum eye level, is just to go to the board, buy high quality of whatever the most recent expansions gear is. So this is assuming, hey, look, I don't have any of the new poetics, whatever these are called. Allegory, I do believe. Allegory. Okay, so we're going to start here. You don't have any allegory. You're going to either buy, make, trade with somebody, however you want to get it. A full set of high quality. What that'll get you to 480 eye level, which, if you're looking at high-end duties, I don't believe it's found in here. Yeah, that's right. No, those are the old ones. Yeah, those are the old ones. So it is high-end duties. So here, I do believe 480 is minimum eye level or something like that. I don't know what the minimum eye level is. And it's right here, 470. So it'll get you 10 eye level above the minimum eye level. Really, all you need to do is just get above minimum eye level. Getting in there and getting experience is the most important thing to begin with. Now, with that gear, you will want to meld it. So as you can see, throw a couple melds in there. This character is still wearing the 480 chest. I'm not going to go spend allegory on a chest that I'm not going to use. So that's the next thing. So let's say, okay, I got the 480 full set, 480 crafted. I can look at pretty much any one of my other classes. And the 480 set, this character is not, I'm not going to raid on, so there's no melds in this stuff. But this stuff is for my ninja, so there will be some stuff. Okay, got the 480 stuff. What do I do next? Okay, so your next stop would be you want to know what your stat priority is. Okay, and there's nothing really that just flat out says, hey, here's your stat priority. Because unlike World of Warcraft, where you can sim every single piece and get a stat priority, figure out which stat's best for you in certain situations, there's nothing like that in this game. So, for those that don't understand what I'm saying, in World of Warcraft, you can literally take a character, simulate the character, and it will literally say, hey, this stat is worth this much DPS. This stat is worth this much DPS. And then you could say, okay, the highest number is what I want. So, a fairly good rule of thumb in Final Fantasy XIV is primary stat trumps all. So what does that mean? That means for ninja, dexterity. I was playing another game that used agility. Same thing. Dexterity is more important than every other substat. So it means eye level is going to trump everything. That's not always true. Just an FYI. Tanks tend to fall under the category where that doesn't become true. But that being said, how do we figure out our stat priority given that there is no exact stat priority? What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come to this Discord right here, if it will pop off my other screen. Right here. So this is called the balance. It's where all the theory crafters are. So how do I get my stat priority? So as a ninja, we're going to go to ninja resources. You've got guides, beginner guides. They've actually got a substat tier list, which pops up this guy here, which isn't the easiest thing to figure out. So you're looking at this going, what the fuck? Okay, so after playing with this for a while, I understand what it means. Okay, but this is not something you're going to look at and go, I understand. And some people just won't understand it. So how do you really figure it out? So they've all got these best in slot lists. So we'll talk about best in slot here in a minute. But so what you can look at is go, okay, down here, what are they trying to maximize? Crit. Highest value is crit. Okay, so I want a ton of crit. Next value is direct hit. Awesome. I want some direct hit. Determination. Sweet. I want some debt. No skill speed. So I don't want to put any skill speed in anything. Fairly easy way to just go, okay, I know generally what I'm looking for. Okay. So once you get that understood, the next thing you should do is the next thing you can do is you can go get allegory. How do you get allegory? Well, you come here, you do your duty roulettes. You get a bunch of it from just doing your different roulettes throughout the day. Some of them give it, some of them don't. Main scenario gives a fuckload of it. You do have to be on a level 80 to get it on main scenario. So, with all that being said, you are going to use, like, this class is not best in slot. I will use Dragoon, which I do have a best in slot character. As you can see, augmented Crystarium. So that means I'm using Crystarium gear in my best in slot. So Crystarium, there's another Crystarium piece. I have a bunch of raid gear because this thing took a ton of raid gear. Crystarium again. So you'll use those. Now, we'll talk about how to upgrade that in a minute. Just go to how to get to the augmented portion. We'll talk about that in a minute. But that being said, you're going to use the Crystarium gear. Now, I highly suggest you only grab the pieces of Crystarium gear that are on your best in slot list. So we're going to go over best in slot list now. So, no matter which one of these you go to, you're going to find somewhere here you go. Here's your best in slot list right here. You will find this is for Monk. I showed you Ninja. Dragoon has one too for different skill speeds. Here you go. Another best in slot list. All of the guides have a best in slot list. Now, don't fool yourself because I know a Scholar. It has a couple of best in slots. So, be honest with yourself is the next thing. So look, this one right here. Recommended speed killed best in slot. High damage output. Warning has 284 piety, so only use in coordinated environments. Don't take this into a pub group. If your group is still proccing, don't use this as your best in slot. It's that simple. Don't do it. You will use this other set right here because you have more piety. And then once you start getting 5, 6, 7 Shiva clears under your belt, then you could transition over to this to try and get better parses. So, your best in slot list. Now, what I'm saying about that is, don't buy Crystarium gear just to buy Crystarium gear. It's expensive. You only get a certain portion. You only get 450 per week. So, it's not like you could sit there and be like, yeah, I can put full Crystarium gear together right now. That's not how it works. So, you want to say, okay, I cannot put a full set together right now. What do I want to grab? So, first and foremost, if your Crystarium gear has you want to save up for your weapon. Your weapon is going to be your single highest damage increase in the game. Your weapon has one other mod on it that nothing else has, and that's called physical or magical damage. That is the highest damage multiplier in the game. So, weapon first. Next, after your weapon, you'll want to go for something like your chest, which is going to have a ton of main stat. Your legs have similar main stat. You want to look and make sure, excuse me one second. Apologies, I had to sneeze. Now you're only going to want to buy this stuff, like you only want to buy the belt and the, helmet and then anything on the right side, I think neck, one of the rings, and that's it. You don't want to waste your allegory or whatever the poetic of that raid tier is on other things, because if you waste it, you won't get your weapon. Your weapon's really important. You won't get the pieces you need in time, and then you'll be sitting there going, I've got all the raid gear I need, but I'm still waiting on allegory from this piece or that piece, and that feels real shitty. So I highly suggest that you don't do that. If you want to fill those slots and you're like, I really want to fill these slots and I don't want to have green 480 pieces in there, another thing you can do to gear up is there is the raid. These will drop pieces that are lower item level. I don't know if I have any of them. I don't think I do, just to be honest with you. I haven't done the raid in forever, the lower end raid. But you're going to get, right here. Here's a piece. Eden's Grace. Those are only 470. I take that back. I don't have any. But you can go get pieces that will fit in those slots from the raid. Now, those are going to be, I do believe, 480 also, but they may have better substats on them. So those are a couple ways to gear yourself up. Now, as I said, the place to go to figure out what your best in slot list is the Balance Discord. If you do not know what the Balance Discord is, go to the Balance Discord and figure it out. So, the Balance Discord, once again, waiting for my Discord to come over. It's right here. Discord.gg/thebalance FFXIV. It'll get you into the Balance Discord. And let me actually move that over just a hair so you can see that. Get you into the Balance Discord, and they are super helpful people. I don't sit in here too often. I don't try and min-max my class like that, but some people do enjoy that, so I'm not going to say anything. The next thing so gearing up, the Balance also has a bunch of guides, so that's the next thing. Read over a guide how to play your class. So, we've talked about all that, but I got a comment earlier that people said, oh yeah, don't play Bard in Savage. It's just not worth it. It's not going to, it's not good. So, 90th percentile Bard on all fights is doing 15.8k DPS. Summoner is doing 17.5. That's a 1.5k DPS. Now, this is obviously our DPS. So, do you really think that there's that big of a difference between in 1.5k DPS? On your meter, it's not going to look like that. It will look more like this, where you've got, Dancer down here at 14, Samurai's up at 18, 4k difference. But that doesn't matter as much. Your ADPS, this is Final Fantasy Logs, okay? I know way too much about this website. And the reason I'm going to talk about this for a minute is because people take this and they don't know how to interpret the data. And I'm going to teach you how to interpret the data at a very basic level, because there's a lot of data on this website. There's a lot of data. I love this website. I love looking at this website. I have not played Final Fantasy, straight since, ARR. I have played a lot of World of Warcraft and all that. And I just want to show you Warcraft logs. Notice I've got a character here too. Go figure. I play both games. Guess what? This website is made by the exact same person that made this website. And then you've got, I've never been here, but this looks kind of familiar too. Wonder why. Once again, same person made it. So, if you know somebody that looks at these logs and has some data, listen to them. That being said, RDPS. What is RDPS? RDPS is a look at what DPS you brought to the whole party. That means that, like Dragon Sight, a Dragoon will put Dragon Sight on someone else. That person gains 5% DPS. Say that person's doing 10k damage. That extra 5% that they gain goes back to the other person because that person didn't rightfully earn that DPS. The Dragoon did. Okay? Now, there's certain things like Battle Litany. You can't really say, hey, look, that fits into our DPS because you can try and say, hey, look, I gave you extra crit, but how can you actually figure out if that crit was caused by Battle Litany or not? It's impossible. It's quite literally impossible. So, things like that. But a Bard can say, hey, look, I've got my songs. That gives you X number of damage. That's why in our DPS, it is a much better gauge of how you play as a group, what you bring to the table. Whereas a DPS is much more of a gauge on how well did you play your class. So if we were to look at, like, I'm going to use myself here because I can pick on myself a little bit. If you look at my RDPS, which is what people look as the standard, I would say I'm above average. So for a Savage Raider, your goal should be a blue parse in every fight. Purple's awesome, orange is amazing, and a fucking, a gold one, you're fucking rocking it. Pink, pink's 99 percentile if you didn't know that. Pink or orange, you're fucking rocking it. For the most part, you're not going to get too many of those parses, unless you're really pushing for parses. That being said, if you look at my ADPS, you can see a couple of my parses actually go up. Now, I do have Shiva that goes down just a hair, but my Idol of Darkness actually goes up, and my Ifrit and Gruda actually goes down. Ifrit and Gruda is actually a fairly difficult fight for most melee, but specifically Dragoon, so it doesn't really surprise me. But if you can see, it looks like I bring things to the table and I know how to play my class. Okay? So that's basically what you can interpret those two things into, is our DPS is what do you bring to the raid? Raid DPS. ADPS, actual DPS. How well did I actually do? So those are the two types of logs there. That's all you've got to look at. Now, there are a couple of other things that we want to look at. So, please repair reports. Let's look at a fight that we actually killed it. And then you can go to here, damage done. And you can see, wait, your Idol of Darkness isn't a 75th percentile? What the fuck? Okay, so if I look at my ranking here, you can see that it is not a 75th percentile. This is true, okay? So, don't get confused. This analyze and damage done, this parse doesn't mean a goddamn thing. Let's just be honest. This is only compared against 2 weeks of data, whereas the rankings are not. So you want to look at what's actually being compared to a real time rather than, oh, you guys can't actually see this. I can almost guarantee you that. I just noticed that. So, yep, you guys can't see that at all. So, as you can see, my rank here is 75th percentile. If you look at the rankings tab, I am not 75th percentile. You can see 65th. So don't look at this, damage done. You go to analyze and then damage done and look at this and go, oh God, he's got a 75th percentile. No, I didn't. I did not get a purple horse on that. Sorry. It's not how it works. You don't get to just pick and choose which parts you take. Okay? It's the unfortunate part. So, once again, if you're looking at this and you're looking at it going, I want to play a class, but it's not in a good spot. I should not have closed that out. Pull that back up. So, I'm going to show you guys something. So, in our group, we got this guy. Let us... So, this is our Bard. 93rd, 93rd, 77th, and 70th parse. Think about that for a second. Do you really think that he's not bringing something to the table? Bard is the worst DPS in the game. The dude is doing really well. So, in a lot of games, the idea is bring the player, not the class. And luckily, with the RDPS added in, that shows that is actually how Final Fantasy wants to be played. Whereas in the past, that's not how it was. Now, in other games such as WoW, that's not true. Could you bring a Windwalker mode? Sure. But they are the worst DPS in the game right now. 30% below the best DPS in the game. You're losing a third of a player at that point in time. Like, if you're losing, like, 1.5k, sure, that's about 10%. But losing 10% versus 30% is just, it's completely different. So, long story short, don't let people discourage you from playing what you want to play. As you guys can see, if you look at the rankings, and this is how you get to the rankings, you go to statistics. You're going to want to do 90th percentile. At 95th and higher, people tend to cheese strats to get better rankings. Anything below 80th percentile, you can get lucky and get into that percentile. 90th is usually people that really know what they're doing, didn't cheese the strat, and just got a really good parse. You want to go by a per second amount. A normalized score just doesn't give you a good judge because you're looking at a meter saying this much. What is a normalized score compared to that? Like, it's basically looking at a standard deviation, but most people don't take enough, math in their life to understand what that means. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that, everybody's going to understand that. But if you look at this is not a bad difference. You're going from 15.8 to 17.5. I mean, 1.8k DPS is just not enough to cry over. It really is not. So don't let people tell you, hey, look, that class is garbage, this class is garbage, you can't play this, you can't do that. They're full of shit, just to be very blunt. So a good player is going to make up the difference. Now, a lot of people say, hey, look, this tank or that tank. One thing I want to tell people, so many people use outdated data. And that's one of those things where it annoys the shit out of me. Like, I hear all the time, oh, the best healer is a white mage for damage. Astro, 2 tanks, white mage, 2 tanks, scholar. Now, if you look at the ADPS, yes, white mage is going to beat out the other 2. Actually, does it? Yeah, it does. But ADPS, okay, great. The only time ADPS really fucking matters is what? Ad phase on fucking Shiva? This is what's going to matter most of the time, is your RDPS. Like I said, ADPS is a good way to look at, hey, look, how am I playing on the class? RDPS is a good way to look at and go, what am I bringing to the raid? So, all of that being said, Astro is actually the strongest DPS, and if we want to actually look at it, they're also the strongest healer. So Astro is actually the best healer in the game right now. Now, I would not say White Mage is far behind. Now, Scholar does need a boost. They're behind in healing and damage, so they need a boost. But nothing wrong with saying, hey, look, we need a little bit of damage. A little bit of a boost. So, please, for the love of God, do not listen to other people. Find the answer yourself. If you you can listen to me because I'm going to come to you with this. This is actual data. This is proven. This is, in a lot of cases, this is for the summoner. This is almost 30,000 parses. Dragoon, 25,000 parses. Samurai, 31,000 parses. That's a lot of data. Hell, look at this. Scholar has 35,000, and White Mage has almost 50,000. Now, this is across all fights. mind you, if we were to look at one boss, so Ramu would be the best. This is about how many people in raid are playing each class. You know, Samurai has 10,000 people playing it. White Mage has 15. Astro only has 7. A lot of that is people don't, you know, people are doing what they always do. You know, they're doing the, oh, well, I know that, you know, White Mage is the best healer in the game. I just proved them wrong. It's a common fact that Final Fantasy players are a little bit more casual than what you would see in, like, WoW. Nothing wrong with that, mind you. But with that being said, find the actual facts. You know, you know, like on Ramu. The best DPS on a Ramu is actually Black Mage, because they can just sit there and turret up for a lot of the fight. Whereas, you know, in a lot of the other fights, such as, I can guarantee you, Ifrit and Garuda is not Black Mage. They actually get beat out by Ninja. Because Ninja, you know, it's not a bad DPS. You know? And as you can see, each fight has its own little quirks. You know, Ninja probably loses out on some trick attack time because of the ad phase there. And then Shiva, once again, Summoner. So, coming to this website, understanding what that website actually means is important. If you guys need help with Final Fantasy logs, I actually posted to the FC Discord a walkthrough on Warcraft logs. Once again, Warcraft logs was made by the exact same person as Final Fantasy logs. So knowing that, they're interchangeable for the most part. Now, there are more things in WoW that are a little bit easier, because WoW is a more, it's friendlier to people using stuff like add-ons and stuff, whereas obviously Final Fantasy is not. So, that being said, use those websites, use those utilities, go to the balance, talk to people. If you guys have questions, come to me. You know, I shouldn't have to come to you to try and help you. You should come to me and say, hey, look, I want to be better. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have to know how to play your class to help you out, because I have seen so many people who are like, well, you don't play Black Mage. Actually, I play Black Mage and Stormblood. You don't play Summoner. I played Summoner and Stormblood. You don't play Bard. No, I don't. But I do know somebody that does play Bard, and they play at a very high level. So, that being said, guys, that's all I've got for you. I hope everybody learned something. If you guys need more help, please reach out. That is one thing I'm going to tell people about being a Savage, Mythic, you know, whatever ESO's highest level of Raiders are. It's all about saying, hey, look, I want to be the very best that nobody ever was. I had to. But that being said, to be the very best, you cannot just say, hey, look, I'm just going to do my own thing. There are people that are better than you. There always is somebody. You're never the very best. So ask questions, find answers, and once you have that, keep going, keep pushing. Keep challenging yourself. I know that that's something that's hard for people, but keep challenging yourself. I personally am continuing to clear Shiva just to get some better parses, get better at Dragoon, even though next raid tier I'm playing Ninja. So, that's all I've got for everybody. Thank you for coming to my video. Love y'all. See y'all.